Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Jess Gonchor, a two-time Oscar nominee for True Grit and Hail Caesar, and a legendary production designer, frankly, whose new film is the great Saturday Night, Jason Reitman's movie about the first episode of Saturday Night Live. Jess, I want to start there. You made so many amazing movies. Like I just said, those two Oscar-nominated movies, but No Country for Old Men, Moneyball, Little Women, Devil Wears Prada, just many movies that I've seen countless times that I absolutely love. Saturday Night somehow feels like a level up in terms of production design from any of those great movies that I mentioned, including those Oscar nominated movies. So I guess when you first read the script, like what were your overall thoughts and like what were you excited about getting to do here that maybe you hadn't done before?
Well, I was excited about well when I first got the job and I read the script, I was obviously the nostalgia of it all and growing up with SNL and waiting to see who the host was and the musical guest. That it was just like a huge and still is part of of my world. And I come from that world of of theater and live performances and working on something where there's a countdown to making it happen, whether it's a theater curtain opening up or a camera turning on or actors showing up or something like that. There's always like a time constraint, to something when you're designing and building scenery. But this one just felt like I felt like I really feel like I'm not say rarely, but to be a production designer, you have to become an expert in a subject in a very short amount of time. So, when I get a job on something or somebody tells me and I start researching it, I become an expert on it. But this thing, I felt like there's been two movies in my life. One was Serious Man about being bar mitzvahed, which I was very well versed in. And this one, I felt like since I had was lucky enough to, not lucky enough, but I worked in a set shop that occasionally built stuff for SNL in the late 80s, and I got to go over there a couple times and see what was going on, which was amazing. So I felt so connected to the project, and I knew we were going to build it all on one stage, and it all had to be ready at once, and the camera was going to see everything, and it needed to, touch, move, and inspire the cast and the crew because they were going to be living in it. I also knew from some experience on Moneyball, where we built the entire Oakland A's locker room, that the set, which was shot in many different places, but it was shot for at least 10 days on that set, which was a long time. I knew the set was going to get better and better and better and more lived in and lived in and lived in as from when it was done as the shooting schedule went on, because people are going to do things on a set like, that I could never think of, just do naturally. Like extras are going to, whatever, flip over a crate and start playing cards on it. Somebody's going to drink coffee over here. Somebody's going to take a nap over here. Somebody's going to move their equipment over. So I just, with the even with the hundred and so extras that were there and the crew that was there, just because there was nowhere to go. Everyone, it was like, okay, we're going to shoot here. Everybody go over there. We're going to shoot here. Everybody go over there, because the whole thing was visible. So that part of it really totally got me very excited.
So you mentioned like how the whole thing is visible. I mean, obviously this movie is in real time, right? Like, for all intents and purposes, and they're moving through this set very quickly. So I guess like how are you like how like there must be so much detail even that like we're not picking up like as an audience, right? Like where everything has to feel like I don't know, I just was like fascinated by that where it never once felt like it was a set. It always to me watching this movie was like yeah, they're just in 8H, right? And they're in this place. And like it just felt like it just felt like it was like a real place instead of just a set. So I guess like how'd you kind of pull that magic trick off to like really make it seem like totally natural, I guess, in the build and stuff, and like making sure that if the camera moved over there, there would be, it would still retain that feeling, I guess.
Sure. No, I totally get it. And it was a lot of sort of a little bit of trial and error and a little bit of we were on a 40,000 square foot, stage in Atlanta for the whole thing, which is about, the footprint of the eighth floor um of 30 Rock, or the part we were dealing with anyway, from where you get out of the elevator to the back wall of what would be the sound stage. So I created an environment sort of like honoring what the stuff that we all knew about the home base and the tenement apartment behind it, the Billy Preston set and the Wolverine set, and worked my way back to the elevators and kept going back to the script and saying, oh, Belushi character is going to want to go here, Radin here, Lauren is going to walk around here. And it kept sort of evolving with a big white model that we had in our office that Jason we would talk about like every day, this. And then we started to, we got to stage and we taped the whole thing out with tape on the stage. So he could actually take the script and come out of the elevator and walk and turn here. And he'd be like, Jess, I think it would be good if we made this longer here or we shorten this up. And I wanted to, so just it really got to evolve like nothing I've ever worked on because we're in one place and we got to monitor it every day and we were all like the production office was right next to the soundstage, which you don't always have, and we didn't have to go out to a million locations here and there, so we got to just focus on what was at task, and so we had to create this environment, and I knew it was important to honor what was there and sort of pepper in some things that people know about, like a land shark, or there's so many things you can't see, um, but what it does is it really inspires the crew and most importantly the cast when they're looking through, oh, look at this sketch of the Coneheads. So like things that were gonna be or things that kind of happened in the first year that they were trying out. Obviously, you have the bee costumes that were in the movie and all those kind of things. So I was really just trying to and one of the things early on that I know was important to Jason was to uh, have an individuality and identify each of the rooms because we were going to go through them so quickly. So you want people to know this is an editing room, this is wardrobe, this is hair and makeup. So I had to kind of like really crank it up with some of those things because you only get a split second for the audience to see a lot of what that is, and you wanted to it was kind of difficult because you wanted to tell the story, but you didn't want to distract from the story. But so usually sometimes with my sets is like sometimes there's one key thing to focus on, whether that's in the middle of the frame or on the side, and could be whatever. It could be a doorway, a staircase, like anything. But this was like everything was sort of in place. So I don't know. I was just really the decorator and I, Claudia, we were just like, we're gonna make this thing incredible, and we're not gonna stop because it's so much fun. And we're just going to keep adding layers and layers. And what if the craft macaroni hour had a sign left over here? What if there was a box from Dark Shadows? What if there was a thing from an old sign from NBC's Superstars, or like anything we could just kind of shoehorn in there. We did, and it just like I said, man, I was really proud of it. I think it's really, like you said before, I think it's, if not the best, one of the best sets I've worked on. Environment, because it wasn't just a set, it was a whole environment. Sometimes people say to me, they say, "Oh, Jess, that was so incredible. Your sets are so good. They're so believable. I know if I go this way with the camera or that way, a couple inches, you're going to be off the set, but yours don't imply that. But in this case, it was just free range, and you could. It was we had a great team, man. Great team. Costume designer Danny, DP Eric, Jason's amazing, and it was really. And it starts with that because Jason's like he's really a director that his communication with the crew amazing, just amazing. I haven't I've everybody I work with is like really good at that, but he was just he wanted to make sure that everybody knew what we were doing that day. He had the art department. We made a big dry erase board with a footprint, like an architectural plan of the set on there. He'd say, "All right," first he would be like, how's everybody tonight? What'd you do on the weekend? Anybody got any funny stories? So it was like that. And then he'd say, all right, today I think we're gonna move down this hallway and then we're gonna be in the control room and we're gonna be out here, just so everybody knew what was gonna unfold and what was in his mind. And it was a really just a pleasurable experience like that. And being around, John Baptiste and the music, and which was all recorded live, it was special. It was special.
When you have something like that, like you're saying with the music recorder live too, does that impact how you're doing the set too? Like, or like how did you did you
Yeah, I
not think
mean,
about that? Like, yeah, I don't know.
no, certainly you had to have period equipment there that maybe could mask something that they needed to actually record it or to actually function as it's supposed to with recording and just with the instruments we had to get all period instruments that worked and the keyboards and the drums and all you think those things have stayed the same throughout, but that's not really
Hmm.
the case. And most people would never know it, but the people that watch movies like this, that they would be like, oh, I get it. That, that keyboard's from, 1985 or I don't know, whatever, things like that. So
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that. That's one of the things I want to ask you too. Is like I think everybody knows SNL, right? It's like one of the most famous shows ever. Everybody knows the Studio 8H and they know the sets and stuff, but also they have their own. They don't probably know it exactly right. And I guess like how much of it is like you like trying to recreate like what the vibe, like how much of it is like exactly what it is or what it was at the time versus like kind of recreating like what people think it was at the time, I guess. And like how'd you kind of balance that out? Like how much research do you do and like how much
no,
like,
sure, I get it.
recreation? Yeah.
Well, I'm saying like this soundstage was sort of like cut into, let's say it was in thirds the long way. So the first third was the stage that everybody knows where home base is, Billy Preston, and all, going around with the camera can. Everybody knows that. And then the back two-thirds is like back of house where hallways are, the makeup at the control room, the dressing, and editing room, and lighting storage, and all those things. So really with the first third, which was the stage, I tried to get that as close as possible to honor what what the original people designed there, and because everybody knows what that looks like, and certainly if you're a fan, you know what the first season looks like. But it kept evolving, like stuff, even like within episodes moved around because everything was moving, and there was just trying to this chaos was happening, which was something that I also tried to happen. Everything was on wheels, everything could move around. At any given time. And we wanted to create this like you know, chaos that was, sort of like controlled chaos. So you could see everybody getting more comfortable with the show and everybody, learning how to do their job better and, jumping in at the end and putting the bricks in and rallying behind this thing. So I wanted to get that all right. But everything that other two-thirds, I didn't know what it really looked like. I've been there to SNL. I've been down that main hallway. I don't think that other hallway where like the shark was and Chevy Chase trips, and then I don't think that was there in 75. It is there now, but I think that was as the show got more popular, they put another way in instead of the main hallway where the audience went in. So those kind of things we kind of had to still honoring what was we think was there and what was there. But Taylor making it for Jason's story.
Right.
So I'm saying a lot of it was real, and there was a lot that was in very much in the style of, but not sure what it was, so I had to recreate something, but also totally respected what was there already.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you mentioned like laying the brick. Like I've never seen a movie where there's the production designer who's obviously famous, like Leo Yoshimura is like very famous SNL production designer, is a
Yeah,
character in the film, and like laying the bricks.
no,
I was like, I've never seen a movie where like the production, a tension point of the movie is whether the production design will get done. I'd imagine for you as a production designer, that must have been really fun, I guess, to see on screen.
no, that's what I'm saying. It was like this, art imitating life. So when I read it, I was like, what production design, this is me. I guess what I say. I was like, I get it. I know. I think I could be valuable to this project, and it was a blast. Just you don't get to use, or me anyway, in the film industry. You gather so much experience in so many different time periods and subject matters and all of these tricks you learn along the way and everything. And mine happens to be about designing and creating scenery, and that's what this whole movie was about, creating this show, and the sets were a big part of it, so it was a blast.
You meant like I think like the movie itself, I feel like is like you're shot out of a cannon for like 90 minutes. It's so fast. The
Yeah.
pacing is great. And I imagine that it seems like the Jason and you guys put this whole movie together in a very quick amount of time as well. Like it doesn't seem like this is like a very long production. Does that like kind of energy, I mean, does that help you? Like as like you're just like flying with the energy of this production that kind of like brings itself onto screen in the finished product as well, I guess.
I think in this case it did help. I think that everybody was really confident in their approach to it, and I think it didn't need any more time than the. I think we built the whole thing in 12 weeks, and build, painted, decorated, and all that sort of stuff. And then it was a really short day count for the shoot. It was like 34 days or something like that. So I think that was and it was, having the set in one environment allowed, the DP, Eric, who did an amazing job. Like everything was like, not everything, but most things were lit already. And the lighting was sort of baked into the set too, because, in the art department, if you see the source, what's lighting the scene, it falls under the jurisdiction of the art department because it has to be visually pleasing or correct for the period. So we baked in all the lights in all the rooms, and on the soundstage had period lights in there. So it just kind of like um, had to be ready for for whatever was going to happen. But um, anyway, so that was um, I know I'm going off the question,
No,
but
this is great. That's where do you have like you mentioned like how much you liked like the show? Like I agree. Like it's so much used to be so much fun like waiting to see who the host was gonna be. When you didn't know like when there was no social media too. You're like, oh,
yeah.
who's gonna host? So I guess like as a fan, did this even or is it possible? Do you have like a newfound appreciation for the show having done this movie that maybe you didn't even have before, even though you were such a fan? I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is like having having pulled this off and know what those guys have to do in a week. I'm in awe of the whole thing. And and I know some of like sometimes the level of the scenery in the show is certainly not to the point of some great cinematic piece, but that adds so much to it. Do you know what I mean? It just like whatever, some over exaggerated paint, faux paint job of some marble or something. It's just so me trying to create that was something, but I have a new, yeah, I don't know how they do it. And by the way, I did get to go to a show last year. It was when Josh Brolin was hosting, and I think Ariana Grande was the musical guest. Sat in the balcony above everything in a very high seat in the back, and watched the whole thing move around. It was nuts. They'd have like each set would be on its own cart. It would be like whatever, the waiting room or the kitchen, whatever they were doing. And I'd be like, how are they going to set that up in like a commercial break? And then it like moves over here and it like, it's like kind of like a rotation of baseball players. They're on deck and then they get up to bat and they get on base and they get out, they move away. The next thing moves up. It was an incredible operation that I had no idea that went into this thing. So that my appreciation is very high for just how they could pull that thing off in a week. It's just it's nuts. It's nuts.
That like the quote I think that opens the movie right. It's not ready because it's ready. It's ready because it's 11:30 right or whatever. I'm butchering
Yeah,
the
right.
Michael's quote,
That's
but
right.
that's right what it is.
Yeah,
Right. It's like
yeah,
it goes
yeah.
on
Okay.
because it goes on. Do you have I
Yeah.
guess last one like I love this cast like you mentioned like how like it was great. I think and them in the environment is obviously incredible. Did you have like watching the movie and like the cast? Who from the cast would you want to see host SNL? Like the actors in the movie. Who would you want to see host SNL? Any of these actors?
I mean, all of them probably. I mean, I think that Rachel Sennett, I think she's amazing. I think Gabe is amazing. I think they're all yeah.
Yeah.
Any of them, all of them. Probably Rachel would be my favorite.
Rachel would be fantastic. I agree. I think she'd be so good, but they should all host it maybe together. I think it would be fantastic. Imagine
Well,
like
that's
Rachel and
yeah,
Dylan
right.
and Gabe. That'd be so good.
No, I mean he can't even like yeah, it's so hard to pick that, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
Uh,
they were all did I mean amazing
it's
job.
yeah.
Really, yeah, an ensemble cast was just awesome, awesome.
Fantastic. And I think the movie is fantastic. And your production design, like I said, is it's just remarkable. It's so good. It really helps make the film. Jess Gonchor, two-time Oscar nominee, like I said, for True Grit and Hail Caesar. Saturday night is out in theaters now. You can see it. Jess, thank you so much for doing this. It was great chatting.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.